Hello and welcome to this episode of Maintenance with Magnus. Today we're going to check the DeviCounter. The DeviCounter is a high precision digital wireline counter used for measuring interval depth, time and line speed of a drill rig's wireline while surveying. This allows for seamless data integration with leading Devico survey instruments. Today we're going to do a general check. We're going to replace the rubber on the waterguard. We're going to do some cleaning of the DeviCounter, and lastly we're going to do a wire test to ensure that the accuracy of the DeviCounter is on par with the Devico standard. So first we're going to do a general check of the tool. This should take around 4 to 5 minutes. So what I'm doing first is I'm going to check the clamp. This one's pretty simple. You check that you have no damages on your chain. And then you can just do a test mount to ensure that it fits nicely on the tightening mechanism here. Check that your tightening mechanism is loose and can be tightened. Check that you have your quick release pin, preferably in a lanyard so you don't lose it. Just check the functionality of the quick release pin. Just check that the balls are moving as they should. And then just check that the distance tube fits and that the quick release pin goes through. And you can check both sides to ensure that you have no damage on either of the ends. So my DeviCounter clamp looks all good. So I can just set that aside and then start taking a look into the DeviCounter. So now that I've got my DeviCounter, the first thing on the DeviCounter that I do is just do a check to see if it's bent or if there are any indication that something has crashed. If it's bent or crashed or have any other mechanical damages, just contact your local Devico supplier so we can have it sorted out and get it serviced and repaired. This one looks all good. The second thing I do is just remove the water shield and the quick release pins, and then take the distance tube and then mount it on. And just check that my quick release pin goes through nicely. Just to ensure that they're going through the holes pretty good. Then I'm moving on to checking the clamping rail. So first, check that your screw here is loose enough so you can unscrew it, and that the clamping mechanism works. Make sure that you can clamp it snugly down here, and that you can have some leeway in the springs here. Then I'm checking that my wheels are spinning freely. So this one's just a bit dirty but moving freely. And the same with one in the back here. But I can see that the one furthest back, as well as the one on the top rail furthest to the front, they're a bit slow, moving a bit slow. That might increase the wear and tear from the wire on the guide wheels. We're gonna clean and lube those up in the cleaning chapter. Then we're checking the measuring wheel. So just remove your glove for a second and just check if you have a good serrating here. Take your finger or a nail and just feel that you still have a good serration here. It's serrated to increase the grip on the wire. So if you have a very worn measuring wheel, you'll most likely have more wire slip and less accuracy. That's it for the mechanics. What I'd like to do now is just remove the battery cap and just try to charge the DeviCounter with both the main charge port, which is a magnetic charge port, and the backup charge port. Grab my cables, just mount it and make sure that the charge light comes on. You can also wobble it a bit around to ensure that you have good connectivity, which it seems like I do here. So my backup charge port works fine. And then I'm doing the same test with the magnetic charge port. So you can see the red light comes on. And then I like to do a 360-degree rotation, just to ensure that the light stays on all times, which means you have a good connectivity. And the last thing, check your waterguard rubber and your water shield to ensure that it's not bent or damaged. So this one has the water guard rubber is a bit worn, so we're going to replace that a bit later. That's it for the general check of the DeviCounter. Let's replace the water guard rubber shield. This should take around 2 minutes. So grab yourself a 3mm Allen wrench. This one doesn't come as standard in the kit, so you need to bring your own. Then just unscrew the screws holding the rubber support, which is the metal thing here. And then it should come off easily. So remove that and just see if there's dirt that's been between the rubber guard and the water shield. If there's a lot of dirt, just grab yourself a wet wipe and clean it off. This is to reduce the chance of corrosion and corrosion damages. Okay, so once that's cleaned, go into your DeviCounter kit and grab your spare rubber guard. There's one spare in each kit, and if you run out, just give us a message or an email and you can order some new from us. So take the new rubber guard, remove the old one, just line up the screw holes and just tighten them all. So you start by tightening the top one just till it touches the metal guard, and then the same for the rest of the screws. And once that's done, just tighten them a quarter of a turn more. And that's it, brand new rubber guard. The third thing we're going to do is we're going to do some cleaning. Depending on how dirty your DeviCounter is, this should take from 5 to 15 minutes. So what I'd like to start with is with the charge connectors. Just do a visual check. Mine looks pretty decent, but if it's dirty, just grab yourself a wet wipe and try to clean off as much dirt as you can. Please don't use any like 3M pads or something that has a lot of grit, because you might sand down the gold plating. Use a wet wipe and some contact spray if you have that. After you clean that, I like to take my charge connector and just put it on to make sure that the charge light comes on. Just turn it 360 degrees around, make sure that the red light stays on at all times. After I've done the charge connector, just remove the quick release pins. You can also do the quick release pin on the clamp as well while you're at it. Just take wet wipe and remove any dirt or grease or oil. Once you've done that, just grab yourself a piece of paper and some general lubricant oil. Spray that into the hole in the front and just release or press the button a few times. That's to let the oil enter down here and lube everything up. So do that on all 3 of your quick release pins. This is just to avoid them from seizing. Right, now that that's done, we can move on to the clamp. So if you had any issues with the tightening mechanism going slowly, you can just take the same lubricant oil and just give it a little touch of oil on the threads and screw it all in and then all out again. And that should lube up the threads and avoid it from seizing. You can also apply a small amount of either grease or moldy coat if you have that. And if your chain's dirty, just grab a wet wipe and try to clean it as good as you can. It's not a bike chain, so it doesn't matter if it's a bit dirty, as long as you can mount it. Okay, I think mine looks pretty good now, so I'll just set that aside and get back to my DeviCounter. Okay, so now we're gonna do a cleaning of our measuring wheel. So just grab yourself a wet wipe, and I also like to use a steel brush. This is not included in the DeviCounter kit, so you need to get it yourself. And you can also use some 3M pads if you like to. Firstly, just clean off any dirt or oil or grease from the measuring wheel. Take your steel brush and just brush along the serrated lines. This is to remove the dirt in the grooves here, which in turn gives more grip to the wire and then a more accurate DeviCounter reading. I like to remove the dirt and rust from the spokes as well, and as you can see it's pretty dirty. Just do that, and that will increase the life of the measuring wheel. And if you have a severely worn measuring wheel, just contact your Devico supplier to have that fixed. So once we're done with that, we're gonna move on to the guide wheels. They're also a bit dirty, and one of them is somewhat seized. Start by doing simple cleaning with a wet wipe. I'm gonna do the same here. And then just grab yourself some general lubricant oil and just spray on the shaft to the measuring wheel. Just rotate it a bit so the oil gets into the shaft. You can see, even though it doesn't spin completely freely, only after I've done just a few turns, it still spins better. You do the same on the other side. There we are. Now it spins even better. And this increases the life of the guide wheel as well. Okay, so the last thing of cleaning we want to do is we want to clean the encoder housing. So I've moved it outside to do this because we're just gonna use some water. I'll just take my water bottle. As you can see, there's an opening here. So just pour some water in there. Just let it rinse out. There's also a hole down here that will drain out of. Once that's done, you can actually just clean off your whole DeviCounter, just to remove the minerals and salt from the drilling. Once you've done this, remember to leave it out in the air and allow it to dry completely before you put it down in the case. If you're putting it wet down in the case and closing the case, it's gonna corrode and rust and you'll destroy it. So the fourth and last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do a wire test. This is to ensure the accuracy of the DeviCounter is on par with the Devico standard. This takes 2 to 3 minutes. So first, grab your phone from the DeviCounter kit and open the DeviCounter app. Turn on the DeviCounter. Just ensure that the blue light's blinking and connect the DeviCounter in the app. Then just ensure that the depth is around 0. So I have my wire here, which I've pre-measured to 5.44 centimeters between here and here. Lay that out there. And I'm going to remove my water guard, or lower it a bit. And then I'm going to mount my wire. Then press down and tighten. So what I want to do now is I want to pull so that the wire is at the 0 position. And then I'm going to reset the depth in the DeviCounter app. So now my depth is at 0, and then I can just start gently pulling the wire through. And as you can see on the app, my wire is actually 5.44 meters long, just as I expected. And I'm going to do the same thing in the opposite way. Just pull it back. And as you can see, the wire, the depth is now at 0 or yeah, 1 centimeter. So we have a 1 centimeter miss close on 5.44 meters. So that's really good. And that's it for the wire test. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to contact your local Devico supplier or Devico directly at their website. And remember, preventive maintenance is key to extending your equipment life, ultimately saving both time and money.